Hi, my name is Delphine Chabanne and I'm from Murdoch University. I'm going to give you a bit of descriptions of Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphins. Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphins is a species of cetaceans. More specifically, they are odontocetes, which means that they have teeth compared to most of the whale and baleen. They do also occupy a coastal shallow and waters, as well as estuary and river, quite globally. In fact, the name of the species, Indo-Pacific, very much represents where they are globally distributed. And bottlenose is to describe the shape of their forehead, which is so much more round with rostrum, which is the beak of the dolphins. Since 2019, that species has been declared as globally near-threatening. There are multiple reasons for it. Dolphins, unfortunately, are under multiple threats. Some of it are fishery bycatch and fishing line entanglements or other type of entanglements. They're also threatened by habitat degradations and loss of the habitat. Pollution is also one of the big threats of dolphins, as well as development and human disturbance, such as in all urban area. Perth metropolitan water or Mandurah could be one of those, for example. Dolphins are very social animals. In fact, we may even sometimes tell which sex they are based on how they are actually actively social with other dolphins. Males, as an example, they will form a group of 2 or 3 altogether, and we call that alliance. A male alliance formations is something that has been described in shark bay for a very long time, for many years in fact. And they will form this bond, as we say it, for many years. Sometimes they will actually spend their whole life together. Female, however, they tend to have more loose network, and their network, or with whose female they will associate, will probably more depends on their reproductive status. What that means is that if females have a calf, she will be most likely associated or spending time with the female who also had a calf. Now, there is one particular bond that is stronger than anything, and this is the bond between a mom and a calf within the first few years of that new dolphins. They will stay together for the first 2-3 years until the dolphins become independent. And we can see that as well when they surface, and often we actually describe this position that they have together as a baby position, which is the calf just surfacing just after the mom, just on the side of it. In terms of predictions, dolphins become mature around 10-12 years old. A females will calve every 3-6 years. You ask how much, or let's say, why is that long? Well, first, the gestations last for 12 months. And then when a female has a calf, her calf is actually dependent for about 3 to 5 years. And during that time, the females will not necessarily have a new calf. Dolphins are also very intelligent. In fact, we know that they can use tools for foraging, getting fish, for example. And that is a particularity that we know from shark bay. In shark bay, they use 2 types of different tools as an examples. One of them that I'm describing in the photo here, it's a sponge. They put a sponge on the top of their rostrum. They use it specifically to protect themselves against anything that is sharp when they look for fish. We also know that dolphins are culturally transparent. What I mean by this is that if a dolphin is doing a certain type of activity, another one may actually learn from it. In other words, we call it social learning. So this is when an activity, a behavior is transferred horizontally. We do sometimes know that there are some behavior that are transferred vertically, so mom to daughter, but it is less or more common for specific tools used. Dolphins are also very much self-recognizant. They know how to use a mirror. They will actually see themselves in the mirror. That's how it makes them very intelligent in some way, how to know their environments, how to use anything around them. They do use echolocations for two ways. One of them is to scan the environments where they live. They do have eyes, they might be looking from it, but when you're here in turbid water, they're not going to be able to see it. So the echolocation, it's actually the main tool that they have to really see their environment, see underwater. How does it work? Then they emit sounds that comes from the molens, which is the top of the forehead. The sounds will reach an object. Once it reaches the object, it comes back to the dolphins, and the sound that is propagated back to the dolphins will come through the jaw, the lower part of the jaws of the dolphins. This is where they receive the sounds. And from there, they gather a lot of information. And just a quick example, information they will get is the size of the object, the distance of the object, but giving a little bit more shape on that object as well. The second way they do communications is a lot of whistle. And whistles is something very important for dolphins for communicating, especially between mother and calf. It is very important that the calf may be able to communicate with his mother. In fact, within the first few weeks of a new dolphins, it will actually create what we call his signature whistle. So each new dolphins will create a signature whistle that is based on the mom and then put a little bit of his own. In that case, each single dolphins have their own signature whistle. It's like our name, and this is their ID. Dolphins have a broad diet. They can eat a lot of mainly fish, thin fish, as we say, but they can also eat crustaceans or cephalopods, such as the octopus. They do have teeth, but they don't chew. So you may see them actually tossing their fish or the octopus, and that is for them to break apart, and then they can swallow the smaller pieces. They have multiple foraging techniques. As I mentioned it earlier, they use tools, some of them in shark bait, for example. This is part of one of the foraging techniques. But it could be as simple as diving in the deep water or just looking for fish in a very shallow water, and then you see one and then they just swim very fast. Now, dolphins are identifiable as well from the surface, not just underwater through their signature whistle. How do we do that? We're looking at their dorsal fin. Every dolphin has a unique dorsal fin. If you look at closely on the dorsal fins of the dolphins, they accumulate scars, nicks, and tears over their lifetimes. Some of these marks may be biggest traumas, such as the wounds from boat strike or entanglements or from shark bite. But all this mark stays there permanent. And that's how we can actually create a catalogue and keep an history of each individual. Some of it, you will actually find it in a fin book that we created for Perth, but also for Mandurah. Dolphins do behave in specifically 4 major states. The first one I'm presenting here is resting. Dolphin will just stay at a very slow movement. Some of them will actually stay at the surface, like is shown on this video. They just stay, as like we say, snagging a sausage on a barbecue, like you will say as Australian. Another behavior that we have is traveling. How do we know if a dolphin is traveling? Well, generally, it's a regular surfacing at the surface of the water, but it's also very directional. You won't see the dolphin turning around. There are 2 other behaviors where you might see a little bit more splash. The first one is socializing. Dolphins, as I said earlier, are very social, and as a juveniles, they will just hug together, they will splash, they will lips around, they will touch each other. Males, when adults, they may actually fight. Like here on this photo on the left side, it's actually 2 males fighting with 1 male on the top in the middle. So socializing, generally seeing a lot of movement, a lot of water splashing around. And the last one is foraging. As I say, there is a lot of different type or way of foraging. Here I'm showing you one dolphin's foraging in shallow water. You can see that it was following the fish in a very fast swim, what we call as well rooster tail, on the top of the surface of the water, just because there is not that much water. And then up, it catch the fish there. There's multiple other way of catching fish. And sometimes they also use the edge of the sides of the harbor or a canal. They use this so that they can attract the fish against it as a border. This is the end of the section. Thank you very much.